Here's what's coming up on Network Africa. A Ugandan military helicopter crashes in western Morocco district, killing the entire crew and a person on ground. Egypt pledges support for Somalia amid a row with Ethiopia over a sea access deal with Somaliland. Plus, main opposition candidates in the Democratic Republic of Congo say they will not challenge the re-election of incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Uganda, where a military helicopter gunship has crashed into a house in the western Morocco district, killing the entire crew and one person at the house. According to the army, the cause of the accident is unclear, as the helicopter crashed on Tuesday near the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Ugandan army has been conducting airstrikes against the Islamic State-linked Allied Democratic Forces ADF militants, who have carried out several attacks in that region. President Yoweri Museveni has called for the activation of paramilitary local defense units to support the army in fighting the militants. Well, let's get more on this story now. Joining us is Halima Atumani, the VOA's reporter in Kampala, Uganda. Hello, Halima. Happy New Year to you.
New Year to you, Lai. Good evening.
Well, what more details can you give us about this copter crash?
Well, you know, the UPDF always does things in secret. In Major Naboth Mugisha, the Air Force spokesperson's words, he said this was purely an accident. There is nothing to it because, you know, the crash happened within the Ugandan borders. So we should not say that this happened in DRC, but also remember that in Morocco or in Katuguku is not very far from DRC. So there's any possibility. But as for now, all we know is that 2 people, as you mentioned, died. That is the crew members. The owner of the house where the helicopter crashed and fell on, and so that makes three people who died. And according to Major Naboth, it was purely an accident, and there's nothing more. So we are not even still aware of who these people were who were killed, because according to the army procedure, they have to first inform the next of kin before they let the rest of the public know who died.
Well, it's an unfortunate incident, you know, it being an accident and killing 3 people. But how are Ugandans reacting to this?
Look, this is definitely a loss, not just to the army, but to the nation as a whole. So currently, and also the UPDF is not the kind of rich army that you would say, because a loss of 1 helicopter, they did not tell us which make again. They did not tell us which make, but we know that the UPDF has a few dozens of, you know, different kind of gunship helicopters. So we still do not know the details, but definitely this is a loss not just for the army, but also for the government, for Uganda as a nation.
And the army has been battling IS-linked Allied Democratic Forces militants. Talk to us, how successful, have they been in this fight that's been on for years?
I mean, it's been going on for a while now, especially the fact that, at first we know that Uganda went in and said we are, trying to create and dig roads to make, our passage easy to the locations by the ADF. But I think if we are to measure it in success, the last time we heard from the president about the killings of the ADF was around when he quoted and said in September alone, they killed about 200 ADF militants. And just recently, we've kept hearing stories of, there's this commander dead, there's that ADF commander dead. And so as far as the UPDF is concerned, definitely for them, it is a success. The fighting continues. And then we'll see, obviously, how much longer the DRC government will be able to let the government or the Ugandan army operate within its territory as they keep pursuing the ADF who continuously cause havoc in Uganda.
All right, then. Thank you so much, VOA's reporter Halima Atumani. Thank you for your reporting.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Moving on, 2 suspects arrested in connection with the killing of Ugandan athlete Benjamin Kiplagat have appeared in court in Western Kenya. The 2 men were arraigned in Eldoret law courts for a miscellaneous application. The court has now directed that both David Lokere and Peter Kalumi be held at Eldoret Central Police Station for 21 days as police continue their investigations. The suspects were arrested with the aid of a CCTV footage. The athlete was staying in Kenya while undertaking his training in Eldoret town, and the case is expected to continue on 24th of January. Well, the U.S. has removed 4 African countries from the African Growth and Opportunity Act AGOA deal. Uganda, the Central African Republic, Gabon, and Niger are no longer beneficiaries of the trade deal effective this year. Well, the decree by U.S. President Joe Biden on December 29th will effectively end Kampala's ability to export certain commodities to the U.S. without added tax. Analysts say this could also have a serious impact on the Ugandan economy, which has significantly benefited from the program since its establishment in the year 2000. Egypt is pledging support for Somalia amid a row with Ethiopia over a sea access deal with Somaliland. According to President Al-Sisi spokesperson, he pledged Egypt's firm position to stand by Somalia and also to support its security and stability. That was in a phone call with Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, adding that the two leaders also discussed regional developments and bilateral relations. The Somali president says President Mohamud also spoke by phone with the Emir of Qatar, Tahim bin Hamad, on bilateral and regional relations of mutual interest. Ethiopia on Monday signed a deal to utilize one of the seaports of Somaliland, drawing criticism from Somalia. And Somalia is condemning the deal, terming it an act of aggression and violation of its sovereignty. Let's get more on this story now. Joining us is Maya Misikir, joining us from Addis Ababa, VOA's reporter. Hello, Maya. Thank you for your time. Talk to us about Ethiopia's reason behind signing this controversial agreement with Somaliland.
So this agreement, memorandum of understanding signed between the Ethiopian government and the Somaliland government, is one that gives Ethiopia commercial and military access to the Red Sea. This will in turn allow Somaliland to have shares from Ethiopian Airlines as well. Now, reports on this were coming out as early as August of last year that the Ethiopian government was looking into securing access to a port, including which options would be viable, from Asab and Massawa ports in Eritrea to the port of Berbera in Somaliland and Djibouti as well. And by October, these local reports were substantiating these interests. State broadcasters were talking about this need for an alternative sea outlet that has now become a pressing concern for the Ethiopian government. Part of the reason for this given is that Ethiopia's heavy reliance on Djibouti for access to Djibouti's port, and that this is costing the country billions of dollars every year. Keeping in mind that more than 95% of the country's trade is taking place through that route. The country's inability to expand its navy force is also another reason. So Ethiopia has had access to the sea historically, and the Ethiopian government, as they have reiterated in their latest press release, has said that this lack of access to the port has come through what it says is a historical and illegal mistake. So this is about correcting what they frame as a fracture of history, as well as expanding options on a sustainable and reliable port and sea access.
Maya, but this has not gone down well with Somalia. They're terming it an act of aggression. What could this mean for, the relations between both countries, especially because I'm asking this because, Somalia has recalled its ambassador to Ethiopia?
That's correct. Somalia has recalled its ambassador protesting this agreement. Somalia's government has also declared this entire agreement as null and void. As far as statements coming out of the government of Somalia, this is seen as an infringement on the national and territorial sovereignty of the country. In his latest post, the president of Somalia said that not an inch of Somalia can or will be signed away by anybody. As you know, and this comes after another statement that was released following this emergency cabinet meeting, saying that the government of Somalia has the right to defend and to protect and to preserve the sovereignty of the country, and that they have the right to respond to what they deem as provocative action right now by the Ethiopian side. On the Ethiopian government side, the Ethiopian government doesn't see this as an infringement of any rights, any laws. The explanation is that in their latest press release is that they gave an example of another MOU that was signed between the Ethiopian government and Somaliland in 2017 that gave, at the time, about some shares of the port of Berbera, 19% stake. That agreement failed later on due to unfulfilled conditions on the side of Ethiopia, but the government of Ethiopia is saying that this is similar to that, and at the time there was no complaints raised on that one, and that this is basically the same.
So does that mean Ethiopia, is now recognizing Somaliland? Because we know Somaliland ceded from Somalia more than 30 years ago, but it's not recognized internationally. And, it says Ethiopia agreed to recognize, well, that's Somaliland saying this now, that Ethiopia agreed to recognize its independence at some point in the future in exchange for military access to the coast. Has the Ethiopian government confirmed this? And does this mean Ethiopia now recognizes Somaliland, as a state and a country on its own?
The statement coming from the two sides on what this memorandum of understanding means for the Somaliland government looks a little bit different. On the government of Somaliland, they're very unequivocal. They say that this access to the port is reciprocated by a formal recognition of the Republic of Somaliland, and that this is a significant diplomatic milestone for the country. When you come to the Ethiopian side, this statement reads as the Ethiopian government will make an in-depth assessment towards taking a position regarding the efforts of Somaliland to gain recognition. So there's a little bit of difference in the way that it is being phrased by the two parties, but the agreement will for sure give the Somaliland government stakes in Ethiopian Airlines.
All right, then we wait and see how it all pans out. But thank you so much, Maya Misikir from Addis Ababa. Thank you. Well, the Democratic Republic of Congo's main opposition candidates say they will not be challenging the re-election of incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi. Second place, billionaire businessman Moise Katumbi, and third place, Martin Fayulu, and the Nobel laureate Denis Mukwege were among the candidates whose teams say they will not contest the results at the Constitutional Court. The deadline to file a presidential petition in court lapses on Wednesday, and the Constitutional Court will have 7 days to consider an appeal and make a ruling. But if no petition is filed, Mr. Tshisekedi is expected to be sworn in on the 20th of January. The Electoral Commission on December 31st declared Mr. Tshisekedi the winner of the poll with 73% of the vote. 12 people have been charged in Sierra Leone for their alleged role in November's failed coup attempt. They include the former police and correctional officers, as well as the former bodyguard of ex-president Ernest Bai Koroma. Mr. Koroma is also a suspect in the coup attempt and has been under house arrest since he was questioned by police last month. Information Minister Chenoba says the suspects are facing several charges, including treason, concealing treason, and harboring, aiding, and abetting the enemy. Other suspects are expected to be charged in the coming days. Well, in December, the government announced that it had held 80 suspects over the coup attempt, including civilians and active and former police and military officers. Mr. Koroma's daughter, Danke Koroma, was also named among 54 other wanted suspects. Still ahead on the program, Malawian football star named world's top female goal scorer. We'll give you more details after the break. Please join us again. Welcome Welcome back to the program. France says its embassy in Niger has now closed, confirming previously announced plans. Well, the closure is one of the final chapters in Paris winding down its presence in its former colony. In a statement confirming the embassy's closure, spokeswoman for the French Foreign Ministry said for 5 months the embassy had been severely hampered, making it impossible to carry out its missions. Relations between the two countries had deteriorated after a coup last July left Niger in the hands of the military. Most staff, including the ambassador who was expelled by the new military leaders, left months ago. The UN Security Council has welcomed 5 new non-permanent members for the year 2024 to 2025. They include Algeria, Sierra Leone, Guyana, Republic of Korea, and Slovenia. Algerian Ambassador Amar Benjama says the membership marks the start of his country's mandate of the representative of both the African and the Arab regions, while Ambassador of Sierra Leone, Michael Imran Kanu, says his country will pursue sustenance of global peace and security. The 5 newly elected countries will join Ecuador, Japan, Malta, Mozambique, and Switzerland as non-permanent members of the Council. They took seats previously occupied by Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ghana, and the United Arab Emirates as their 2-year terms ended on December 31st, 2023.
Today, on the first business day of the new year, I welcome Algeria, Guyana, Republic of Korea, Sierra Leone and Slovenia, our distinguished newly elected members of the Security Council for 2024-2025, as they take their seats on this premier body of the United Nations. We firmly believe that these 5 incoming members will bring much depth and focus on the issues of peace and security.
Sitting in the Security Council is both an honor and a responsibility, especially at a time when regional crises are multiplying. I'm thinking in particular of the Middle East, Eastern Europe and Africa. We are looking forward to working with you for the 2 coming years to implement the mandate of this Council, preserving international peace and security, and to defend a multilateralism respectful of the values of the UN Charter.
The plight of the Palestinian people will be high in our agenda. We will not give up our demand for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and for a just and lasting solution to the Palestinian question based on the fulfillment of the legitimate right of the Palestinian people to establish its independent state with Al-Quds as its capital.
Guyana will be constructive in our approach to the work of the Council, fully committed to partnerships for the peace and prosperity of the world's people. We will seek a people-centered approach, including the involvement of women and youth in the search for solutions, ever mindful that conflict is a driver of poverty and underdevelopment, and therefore inimical to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Faced with the escalating security threats surrounding the Korean Peninsula, the Republic of Korea, grounded in our own history, approaches the Security Council tenure with heightened seriousness. In solidarity with those facing similar challenges across the world, we aspire to create more success stories that resonate globally. And we are confident that it is possible to do so by working together genuinely for our shared objectives of promoting international peace and prosperity, as well as upholding human rights and the rule of law.
Leone will pursue its priorities based on partnership and a representative approach to sustain global peace and security. We shall work within the formulation of the A3+, the E10, and with the P5 to most significantly make the Council take meaningful action and timeously in maintaining international peace and security underlining the utility of regional arrangement and regional ownership.
We move to South Africa now, where the National Defence Force, SANDF, has distanced itself from threats by a former commander who called for the removal of President Cyril Ramaphosa from office. This comes after a video of the former officer, identified as Sylvester Mangolele, went viral on social media. In the video, the former officer is heard to be calling for Mr. Ramaphosa to step down within 48 hours or risk being forced out of office, citing violations of the Constitution as a major reason. However, in a statement on Tuesday, the army distanced itself from Mr. Mangolele's comments, saying that he does not speak on behalf of SANDF and that SANDF condemns his utterances with the contempt it deserves. The army says Mr. Mangolele was dismissed from the Defence Force back in 2018 without clarifying why he was sacked. Still in South Africa, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation is calling on the public to disregard reports circulating online regarding the health of the former president. In a statement released, the foundation affirms that President Thabo Mbeki is in good health. The statement further urges caution and responsible engagement with online information, adding that any information about the president's well-being and activities can be gotten from its official channels. President Thabo Mbeki was South Africa's second president after apartheid from 1999 to 2008, when he resigned at the request of his party, the African National Congress. Or before that, he was deputy president under Nelson Mandela from 1994 to 1999. Police in Morocco have seized 1.488 tons of cocaine in a joint operation with Spanish security forces. The drugs were found concealed in banana boxes inside the shipping container that was aboard a vessel originating from South America and heading to Turkey. The seizure was made at the Tangamed port in northern Morocco, with authorities adding that they suspect the cocaine was being smuggled as part of an international drug smuggling operation. However, investigations are still ongoing. The bust comes just a day after authorities seized nearly 363 kilograms of cocaine from a truck attempting to enter Morocco through the border with Mauritania. The northern African country has been identified as a key route for smuggling drugs from South America to Europe. Malawian football Temwa Chawinga has been named 2023's top female goal scorer, beating huge names like Australia's Sam Kerr and Germany's Alexander Popp. Chawinga won the award from the International Federation of Football History and Statistics. According to the federation, Chawinga scored 63 goals last year for both her national team and Chinese club, Wuhan Jiangda. Temwa Chawinga's older sister, Tabitha, bagged spot number 25 on the list. The elder Chawinga played for Inter Milan and Paris Saint-Germain this year along the Malawian national team. Zambian players Barbara Banda and Rachel Kudanji also made the top 10, with the federation producing rankings since 1984. Well, congratulations to them. And that's where we end Network Africa today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.